All right, today we're going to be talking about my list of don'ts. So, welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Dave, and this channel is called Off Grid. I'm into backpacking, hiking, camping, and gear. If you're into that sort of thing too, please do me a favor and check out the subscribe button down below and that bell notification right next to it so that you can be aware every single time I post a new video. I'd greatly appreciate it, and it really helps out the channel. Today's list is going to be all about don'ts. So I have a grand total of 5 items on this list today, or 5 don'ts. And let me just jump right into it so you know exactly what I'm talking about. The first one I'm going to talk about today on the list is going to be to don't skimp on your sleeping pad and the cost of it. So don't worry about the cost of it. Basically what that means is don't worry about saving money on your sleep. You want to make sure that you invest in an amazing sleep system, and if you can get a deal, that's great. Buy it used, find a killer Black Friday deal on it or whatever. I did with mine, so this is my example of this is the Nemo Tensor long and wide version. I've done a bunch of videos on it. I'll post them, up here. I forget which side it comes on, but where I do a first look on this. I'll play some B-roll here too about using it in the field. I love this pad. I'm going to actually do another video on sleeping pads as well at some point in the near future. I've been meaning to make it, so I'm definitely going to make it. But I've gone through I don't know how many pads. I think I have I own at least 4 or 5 at this point, and I was trying to avoid it as much as possible. I didn't want to spend the money on it, and eventually I just gave in and I was like, you know what, I'm going to invest in a really good pad. I think I got this one at 20-25% off, and this has been a game changer for me. So the first one I have on this list is definitely do not skimp on the sleep. Your sleep is golden out there, especially when you're hiking a bunch of miles. You want to make sure that you get enough rest and that you're ready for the next day. And staying up all night, tossing and turning, having those pain points, and waking up constantly and trying to get into a good spot is not where you want to be. So I would definitely recommend investing in a high quality pad. The 2 big ones nowadays are going to be Nemo, and then Sea to Summit also makes an Etherlite series. They make an insulated and a non-insulated version. Those 2 seem to be the most popular and the most comfortable air chamber pads. And I can't really speak specifically to the other self-inflating pads or the just the thin foam pads, the closed cell foam pads. And I wouldn't really use those because one's a little bit too heavy and the other one's not really as comfortable. So, but particularly when you're talking about air pads and sleeping pads, you want to make sure that you're investing in a high quality one for sure. The next don't that I have on my list is going to be to also don't skimp or don't save money on bear safety and other safety as well. So I have here, this is just a can of Frontiersman bear mace and bear spray. You really want to make sure that you're making sure that you're safe when you're out there in the backcountry, and this goes a long way for protecting yourself against those animal threats when you're out there. And it's not just for bears. You can use it on wolves, bobcats, mountain lions, whatever else that you might encounter when you're out there, or other just weirdos when you're on the trail. So I always make sure that I carry this with me. And going along with that, as far as safety goes, so this is the Garmin InReach Mini. I definitely recommend some form of satellite device when you're out there, some way that you can not only contact loved ones when you're out there to make sure that you can say, hey, I'm okay, I made it to camp safe or whatever, but you can also send for help. It's got a little SOS button here at the bottom. You flip open the latch and press the button, and search and rescue can come and save you if you ever get into a particularly nasty bind. So I can't stress safety enough. I'm always going to do that on this channel, so I definitely recommend some form of satellite device as well as the bear mace, and that will definitely give you a lot of peace of mind when you're out there in the backcountry. All right, the third one that I have, and I don't really have any B-roll, any other extra gear that I have here on the table, would be to don't pack your fears. This is something, and it's a term that's kind of thrown out quite a lot, and if you're not really familiar with it, if you're not 100% sure what it really means, basically what it means is it's a term that a lot of backpackers like to use to basically say don't think about all the things that can go wrong and pack a ton of stuff for that. But I'm going to throw a huge caveat into that here, because I think for certain things you definitely do have to pack a backup for, and that's one of the items on my list here that I'm going to get into in a hot second. But I definitely want to say that you shouldn't pack your fears for certain things. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you have some form of knife that you like to carry with you for cutting up your meats or cutting up, you know, lines, extra guy lines or whatever, whittling some wood for firewood or kindling or whatever, don't bring another one. Like, you don't really need to carry a backup bushcrafting knife or whatever. You don't also need to pack other things such as like any of your really heavy items like a sleep pad or an extra pillow. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Dan Becker. You don't need to pack an extra toothbrush. You don't need to pack, I mean, there's so many gear items that you don't need to pack a separate set for. You know, when they talk about like don't pack your fears, that's what they mean. It's like, you know, if something is going to fail when you're out there, you kind of just have to deal with it for certain items. So that's going to be another one that I'm going to recommend here is don't pack your fears. But let's get into the ones that you really should think about. And some people would say that would be packing your fears, but I'm just saying that it's going to be more along the safe side. So let's talk about the things that you shouldn't skimp on or you shouldn't neglect. And you are kind of packing your fears here, but I would say the next one would be, or number 4 would be, don't skimp on your water backup and patch kit. Now it's not a patch kit for your water kit. I'm talking about 2 separate things here. It's going to be a separate system for filtrating water and making sure that your water is clean and safe to drink and use. And then the other item is going to be a patch kit. So you're probably familiar with these. This is just a Sawyer Mini. It's a really tiny filtration device that you can use in the backcountry. Very popular. You probably heard of the Sawyer Squeeze and things like that, but I'm not talking about that. That's going to be the primary one that you're going to use like 9 times out of 10, right? But what happens when this thing fails, right? If that fails when you're out in the backcountry, you want to make sure that you can still filter your water. So I bring, and so ultra lightweight option here too. I just bring these. This is called Aqua Tabs. But they have other tablets. They have Aquamira droplets too. You can bring, you know, which is a liquid form of this. This is just a really small tablet form of just purifying the water. Iodine tablets, whatever. Something as a backup. It's not going to taste as clean or as crisp as that main Sawyer option for filtrating your water, but it's definitely going to get the job done. You want to make sure that's just, you know, just general safety guidelines. You want to make sure that, you know, water is so crucial when you're out there, so you want to make sure that you have a decent option to have extra water when you're out there. So that's one of the items where I would say it doesn't really fall in the realm of pack your fears, but you definitely want to have a backup for filtering your water. And then the other one that I was talking about was the patch kit. I like to use Tenacious tape. So this is just a small roll of Tenacious tape. It's basically just a really strong adhesive form of tape that you can cut. As you can see, I actually already have a small section that I cut out and used already. It came in handy, but I made a patch when I was on a car camping trip when I was in the Redwoods. For my puffy jacket, I ended up actually burning a hole through that coat, and I was kind of happy that I had it. I was like, oh, I have it, so I can patch it. But this is really great to have for a number of different uses. You can use it on your tent, you can use it on your coat like I just mentioned, you can use it on your clothing, anything that, you know, kind of rips that you need to put back together. You can use it on your sleep pad here with the Nemo. You can use it on any number of things, really. I'm probably forgetting a bunch of them right now as I'm rambling on, but this definitely comes in handy and is really light. It's like under an ounce. You get, you know, I don't have a ton of it here, but you don't usually need a ton of it. You usually just need like a small square of it here or there. But that can really save you, you know, particularly on tents and things like that, if it's raining at night or whatever, to just get you through the night or two, you know, just until you can make a more permanent patch when you go home or whatever. It's just really awesome to have that peace of mind when you're out there on your trips. So that's going to be rounding out the number 4. It's the like don't pack your fears type of tip. And then the last tip that I have for you today is going to be tip number 5. That's going to be to don't forget to do your research. So if you've been with me for a little bit of time now, you've heard this on every single one of my videos. I'm going to close the video out today saying basically the same thing, and it's always to do your research. You have to make sure that you put in an insane amount of research to make sure that any type of trip that you go on, car camping, backpacking, day hiking, whatever, whenever you're going out there, you want to make sure that you're putting in a bunch of research ahead of time. And you know, if you do all of that ahead of time, it really just makes the rest of the trip, even before you even start it, like as soon as you start the trip, you're just kind of like on autopilot, because you know that you got all the angles covered, and you know that you have everything kind of mapped out. Now, not everything is going to go according to plan. You might have to deviate from that plan or whatever, but if you do a bunch of research ahead of time, print out your paper maps, print out maps on your watch. I have a video for that. I'll post that right up over here. I forget which side it goes on, but you know, load up your maps on your SAT device. You can put them over here too. Make sure that you have your bearings, that you know where you are and you know where you're headed, and that will definitely give you a huge peace of mind when you're headed out into basically the unknown, especially if it's a trail that you're unfamiliar with or you never hiked or went on before. It's definitely important to do your research. And I would also say here, as an additional bonus, don't rely on other people when you're talking about like doing research and things like that. Other people can plan trips for you, and that's all well and good, but I always make sure that even if somebody else is planning it, that I still get the details of it. I still do my own research on the side. I want to make sure that I know what my in and out points are, I know what your bailout points are. It's really important to make sure that you're putting in that research before you ever even hit the trail. So that's going to do it for the list today, guys. I really had a great time putting this list together, and there's probably going to be a part 2 at some point in time. But I just thought that there are so many of those videos out there that are like, do this or have these gear items, and I wanted to make a video that was about the things that you shouldn't do, or the things that are the don'ts, right? So thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate you. And if you also want to check out my other hiking and camping tips, I'll post that right over here. And remember, if you're headed off grid, make sure you do your research and you make it a safe one. I'll see you later. Or an extra pillow. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Dan Becker. You don't need to pack